Hello, welcome. Why the fuck are you going live? Because my computer it looks like half my head's a fucking mohawk. What's going on with my stupid hair? Oh my gosh. My computer has decided to take itself out behind the barn and F itself. So, within the next couple weeks, I'm going to get a whole new setup and I'm going to tear this bitch up. So that should be good. You do not have to watch this live. This is just the easiest way for me to do a video right now because every time I've done a video the last 2 days, I've had to record it 2 or 3 times. And the last video I did, I had to do 5 times. So I am not gonna do that no mo. So we're streaming until shit gets unfucked. Okay. So I'm gonna just take a breath here. And I finished H.P. Lovecraft, The Love Dead, and Other Revisions. He didn't write any of the things that are in here. And how much of his hand was in it is kind of unclear. But let me tell you what is in this book. We have The Last Test by Adolphe de Castro, Medusa's Coil by Zelia Bishop, which isn't even the best story. Like she has 2 other stories that are way better than that one, I think. Then we got 2 from Hazel Heald, The Man of Stone, and Out of the Eons, which is probably arguably one of the better ones. The Horror at Martin's Beach by Sonia H. Green. That was Lovecraft's wife. Just so you know. We also have The Trap by Henry S. Whitehead. And then 2 from Dwayne Rimmel. The Tree on the Hill and the Disinterment, and then 2 from R.H. Barlow, Tilla the Seas and the Night Ocean. But we have 4 from C.M. Eddy. Now, the reason why this is such an important find for me is because I've never found the C.M. Eddy stories before. This is the first actual widely produced paperback that I've ever found with these stories in them. This book is copyright 1970, August Derleth, and this is the first Carroll and Graf edition from 1997. Now, the family of C.M. Eddy has a publishing house that they put together, I believe, in the year 2000. And since then, they have been putting together a lot of his stuff. But these 4 stories, I don't even think they have a collection with all of them. I know they have a collection with 2 of them. I have to look into that. I'm not going to start speculating here. But suffice to say, these stories were really hard to find. And when I found this, I lost my bowels. Okay. So what I want to talk about, because all I read out of this are the C.M. Eddy stories, because everything else in here I've read. And this isn't even like a good collection of Lovecraft's revisions. Horror at the Museum is probably the best little paperback you're gonna get. That has it has the Winifred Jackson tales in it, so you also have like the Crawling Chaos and oh shit, what's that called? Whatever, you know what I'm talking about, or you don't. But there is another collection of the revisions he did that is really, really good, and it was put out by Pulplit. You could get the PDF for free at their website. You can get the audiobook on Audible. And then through their, you might be able to get the paperback or the hardcover through Amazon, but you could get them through their website. And you could also get like a bundle pack on their website that has all of it. It's narrated by Finn J.D. John, and he does a great job. A lot of people kind of have come down on it, but I listen to my audiobooks a little faster. And I have had absolutely nothing but positive things to say about his narration. The cover of it, actually, let me just pull this up for you real quick so you can see it in case you're looking for it, because it is kind of confusing because they have different versions, which is kind of stupid. But I understand why. So this is, if you could see, it's like a skeleton, like writing at some like altar. It's H.P. Lovecraft, the Complete Fiction Omnibus, Collaborations, and Ghost Writings. The second edition. Okay, make sure you're getting the second edition of everything because they changed some things around. You could find out about it when you like look at it. The other books, if you're interested, there are other two Lovecraft. You have the prime years and the early years. They're both great. And they also do a Jesus, can you believe that? No, I don't want to open that. I don't even know what I just did. Holy macaroni. But we got Conan. I have this audiobook. It is great. And then the first two Tarzan books and the first three John Carter books. You can't really see this. But anyway, it's a good company. They even have some Seabury Quinn, Algernon Blackwood. I think they have some Clark Ashton Smith. I don't want to say that if it's not true. But anyway, if you're looking for a great book of his collaborations, I would definitely go grab that PDF off their site because it's free. You could just like download it in like a half a second. I think it's like $4 for an ebook of it. It's good. The introductions are great. And it kind of gives you a little more detail and information than you would normally get if you were to just pick up a collection of stories. But if you're at a bookstore or something and you come across the Horror in the Museum or the Love Dead, pick it up, especially this one, because I don't know if you'll ever find the C.M. Eddy books in an actual store anywhere. Like, I wish his stuff was easier to get because I really liked it. I'm not going to lie. There was a part of me that was like, I'm going to like the Love Dead no matter what, because I've been trying to find it forever. And, you know, like, I don't want this to be a trek in vain. But it was actually really good. And in fact, out of these 4 stories, I think the Love Dead is really the only one that Lovecraft really had his hand in. The prose in it is so ridiculous, adjective heavy, and they're all words that you've heard Lovecraft use 100 fucking times. But the story itself is so fucking good, and like, it was a story that supposedly was banned. It came out in Weird Tales, I think, and the government or something. I don't really understand the story, and I've only heard it once, so it's hearsay for right now. But this was back when the government was doing that, like, I'll know if it's pornography when I see it kind of thing. But there weren't any like real laws. But there is a very big alluding to that the Love Dead has a necrophilia scene in it. And it's not what you're thinking it's going to be. But when it came up, like I knew it as soon as it came up, and I was like, holy shit, I can't believe that that's in this book. It pushed me back a little bit. And it's funny too, because I feel like if Poe would have written that back in Poe's day, it would have been a little easier to swallow for some reason than like the mid 20s, basically, the guy who runs the mortuary walks in. He comes in early one morning and he finds this guy who the narrator of the story, finds him in a body naked on a slab and him sleeping, like cuddling the corpse. So like you could assume what had happened before that. But like it's not graphic. It doesn't go into any detail. He talks about his urges and how much he longs to be around the corpses and everything like that. But it's such a good story, and it goes it's weird because like there's a lot of Lovecraft stories where the adjective heavy nature of it starts to bog the story down a little bit. And this, it didn't happen. So whether that is C.M. Eddy's hand or Lovecraft's hand, it's hard to tell. But if you're like looking at Lovecraft, this is definitely the one out of the four that I feel he had his hand in the most. The next one that I like, my next favorite, is a story called Ashes. Now, Ashes is kind of a weird story to have in here because some people say that, yes, Lovecraft helped edit and revise this story, and other people say that never happened. Out of the four stories, this is the only one that's kind of questionable. But it is such a good story. It's very, like when you're reading it, it feels so much like an old 1930s Universal monster movie. Like it's paced perfectly. It's basically about this scientist who can reduce any organism and any material, with the exception of glass, could reduce it down to ash on contact. So it could take you and turn you into a pile of ash like that. And he has the assistant who's telling the story, and this girl, like his secretary kind of thing, that the assistant kind of falls in love with. It like you this is going, like if you are familiar with stories from this period and the films of the 30s, like it just, I seriously felt like I was watching a classic Universal movie, and I was loving every second of it. And I can't tell if Lovecraft had anything to do with that or not. The Ghost Eater is a story that's like half ghost story, half like werewolf story. It's about a guy walking from one place in Maine to another, but he cuts through these woods, and it storms, and so he ends up staying at a weird cottage he finds along the way, and weirdness ensues. It is good, and like the twists in it, like you see coming, but then there was one twist that caught me off guard. I was like, shut the fuck up. Like I was like, no way. Like no way is that how that is. So that was that. And then Deaf, Dumb, and Blind. This story sounds very much like a Lovecraft story. It seems like I've read it before in a Lovecraft book almost. Um, Obviously I hadn't, but like it's, how do you say it? Basically, there's this guy who's deaf, blind, and fucked and everything like that. And he writes stuff down, and he writes this manuscript of what happened to him one night. And everyone who reads it like loses their shit, basically. And then so you get this like long-winded introduction about all of this stuff, and then you get the manuscript. And it's okay. It's not like knock you out, but the premise is so Lovecraft that it almost sounds like Lovecraft was like bouncing an idea off of and he had a good idea or a good grasp on it, and he's like, why don't you go ahead and write that then, or something like that. Like that's how that really felt. But the Ghost Eater and Ashes, I can't for the life of me say, oh, this is definitely a Lovecraft tale because of blah, 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 blah. They're just really good, fast-paced, like macabre thrillers. They're so good. And The Love Dead is really good. I really, really enjoyed it. And it's funny because when you read Lovecraft, at least for me, when I read Lovecraft, what I like most about Lovecraft, I don't like the dream cycle stuff as much. The longer works tend to, I think, get bogged down by over explanations and like history about stuff that isn't really needed for the story. That's just me. But what I do love about Lovecraft is when he's doing his first person narrator, dude goes crazy stories. And you could throw a rock at any collection of H.P. Lovecraft and hit one of those. And those are the ones that I like the most. And that is kind of The Love Dead. It's just like, I really thought I was going to hate it because I've been looking for it for so long that I felt like there was no way it was going to live up to what I wanted it to. And it totally did. So, based on those stories alone, those 4 C.M. Eddy stories, get this book. Or pick them up if you could find them in... The name of the company is the name of the town that it takes place in. Let me see if I can find that real quick. Or else I'll never be able to figure it out. Anytime you're ready here. Okay, I passed it. Here we go. Boom. Okay. Nope. Should be like right in the beginning of the story. It starts with an F, like Fenham or something. Sorry, guys. Fenham. Yeah, that's right. Fenham. I believe is the name of the publishing house that puts out his stuff. And maybe they've put out something lately that's different than what I know about already. So Fenham Publishing, I guess. But yeah, get this book for the, like, not the greatest cover in the world. I wish this was a cooler cover. It ain't. What you gonna do? But if you find Horror at the Museum or the Pulp Lit Ghost Writings and Collaborations, either the audiobook or the PDF or whatever, that is a plus. And so is Horror at the Museum. But this you got to get those CM Eddy stories. Those are cool. It sucks because for so long I've been reading stuff that I could tell you to just go to the site and you could download it, and you can't do that. Like the CM Eddy stories, either Derleth still has the license to them, or Fenham has the license to them, but they're not public domain, and they're not going to be public domain for like another 30 years or some shit. So we could all cry about that a little bit. But yeah, so let me know what you think down below after this video is not just streaming anymore. And we will talk soon. See you.